Welcome to the Deep Dive. It's December 19th, 2025, and today feels like a real turning point in AI.
It really does. You've got these two massive forces sort of colliding.
Exactly. On one hand, you have absolutely astronomical capital. We're talking about companies chasing funding that could value them near $1 trillion.
And on the other hand, at the exact same time, you have this new microscopic level of government oversight finally kicking in.
Right. The first mandatory state-level safety laws are coming online. It's a fascinating push and pull.
It's the institutionalization of AI. I mean, the industry is finally being forced to grow up.
It had to happen. So our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We're going to give you an essential digest of all the major developments, the policy shifts, the research, everything published just today.
And if you're trying to see where this is all headed, today's data really shows that shift from, just scaling up to specializing.
We have the hard data. That's what we're going to unpack.
And that data, it tells a compelling story. We're at this critical moment where policy is finally starting to catch up with capability, especially around things like interpretability and safety.
Okay, let's start right there. In the lab, segment A research. Because if we want safer AI, we have to know how it actually thinks.
And the big theme today is definitely interpretability cracking open that black box. What's so interesting is we're moving from humans auditing AI to AI helping audit AI.
So the first paper from Anthropic and Metz is called Activation Oracles, Training LLMs as Activation Explainers.
It's a dense title, I know. But the idea is pretty elegant. They trained a new kind of model, an activation oracle, to look at the raw firing patterns inside a neural net.
The actual internal state of the model.
Exactly, and translate that chaos into a plain English explanation of what the model is thinking.
And the result, the metric that matters for you.
It achieved state-of-the-art performance on 3 out of 4 of the key auditing tasks. This means these AOs can actually generalize and find hidden knowledge or misalignment, which is a huge step for automated safety checks.
And right on the heels of that, we saw a big move from Google DeepMind.
A very complementary move. They released the open-source Gemiscope 2 interpretability tools.
So this is a toolkit for researchers to inspect their Gemma 3 models, right? Visualizing neurons and the mixture of experts' structures.
Right. And the scale here is what's important. They're saying it's the largest open source release of these kinds of tools ever, covering, get this, 110 petabytes of model runs.
Wow. And making it open source is key. You can't have safety research happening in a silo.
You really can't. It has to be a community effort.
Okay, so moving from looking inside models to feeding them better data. We saw an update from Tether data.
Yeah, the QVAC Genesis II, expanding educational synthetic dataset. They've added 10 new educational areas and a new method for generating the data called option-level reasoning.
So the dataset is now even bigger.
It's massive. The total is now 148 billion tokens, but honestly, it's the quality metric that's the real story here. Their new method hits an average accuracy of 30.40%. That just blows older synthetic datasets like Cosmopedia v2, which was at 17.11%, out of the water.
So it proves that smarter data generation beats just making more data.
It's quality over quantity, clear as day.
And that focus on quality reasoning is a theme. Researchers at Johns Hopkins introduced the Generative Adversarial Reasoner for LLM reasoning.
This is a really cool adversarial setup. You have one LLM, the reasoner, trying to build a logical chain.
And another one, the discriminator, trying to find the flaws in that logic.
Exactly. It's like a debate team inside the machine, and they both get smarter by competing.
And did it work? What was the metric?
Oh, it worked. It boosted the accuracy of a DeepSeek model by 10 full points on the AIE24 reasoning benchmark. I mean, a 10-point jump on a benchmark like that it's like going from a C to an A overnight.
That's a huge deal for fixing those weird logic errors we see in LLMs.
It is. And finally, on the research front, a fascinating update from Shanghai AI Lab on robotics.
PhysBrain, egocentric data for physical intelligence.
So the idea here is to use human first-person video-like GoPro footage as a bridge.
A bridge to what?
To transfer knowledge from these big vision language models to a physical robot. So instead of complex simulations, the robot learns by watching what we see and do.
It's a data-centric approach, bootstrapping robot skills from all the human video that's already out there.
It's a much faster, more direct path to physical intelligence.
That's a perfect transition from the lab to the tools you can actually use. Let's get into segment B, product and feature launches.
And it's pretty clear the big platforms are moving past just simple chatbots. They're focusing on speed, specific tools, and transparency.
Let's start with Google. They had their Gemini app December drop.
Right, and 2 things stand out. First is Gemini 3 Flash, which is their speed-focused variant. Next generation intelligence at lightning speed is the marketing line.
But I'm more interested in the other one, Nano Banana.
Yeah, great name. It's a specialized creative tool for making really precise edits inside an image. It just shows they're thinking about very specific user workflows now.
And speaking of user needs, they also added a huge trust feature.
They did. The Gemini app adds AI video verification using SynthEye.
So this is Google's watermarking tech.
Yeah.
You can upload a video and basically ask Gemini, hey, did you make this?
Exactly. And it's so important that this is for video, not just images. It scans both the audio and the visual tracks for that invisible SynthEye watermark. Transparency is becoming a core feature, not an afterthought.
Definitely. Now, for the developers out there, a big quality of life update from Amazon.
A really big one that might fly under the radar, AWS SageMaker Studio adds SoCI lazy loading.
Okay, break that down for us. What is SoCI?
It stands for Seekable OCI Indexing. I mean, if you've ever had to start up a big machine learning container, you know you can sit there for minutes waiting for it to download.
It's painful.
This changes that. It lazy loads or streams only the parts of the container you need to get started. It cuts that launch time from minutes down to just seconds. It's like Netflix for your containers.
That gives so much time back to developers. A huge productivity boost. All right, let's shift gears to the foundation of all this. Segment C chips and infrastructure. This is the trillion-dollar question where physics meets geopolitics.
And the first headline here really gets at the core economic problem. A new report is raising AI chip lifecycle concerns.
What's the concern?
The report says these incredibly expensive AI training chips become economically obsolete in just 18 to 24 months. The tech is just moving that fast.
Wait, so the hardware you just spent billions on is basically outdated before you've even finished paying it off?
That's the brutal reality. And it gets worse. About 9% of GPUs fail every year, compared to just 5% for regular CPUs. So there's this huge hidden cost of replacement and maintenance.
Now, that is wild. But despite that, the money keeps pouring in.
It's an avalanche of money. The Semi-Trade Association is now projecting a $156 billion AI infrastructure supercycle by 2027.
So this isn't just a temporary boom. This is a permanent structural shift.
It is. And you can see it in the supply chain. TSMC's advanced packaging capacity, the tech called CoOS, is on track to triple by 2026. That's a foundational re-architecting of computing.
And entire countries are treating this like a national priority.
You're seeing it in South Korea, for sure. Their Ministry of Science is pushing a national strategy to become a top 3 AI power.
What's the plan?
Massive government procurement of chips. They're planning to buy 52,000 GPUs by 2028 and 250,000 by 2030. That's treating compute like a strategic national resource, like oil.
And of course, this all plays into the ongoing tech rivalry between the U.S. and China.
Right. Reuters is reporting that the U.S. launched a review for advanced NVIDIA AI chip sales to China.
As the Trump administration. So they're considering letting some shipments of H200 chips go through.
They are, but it's not a free pass. The proposal includes a potential 25% fee on those sales.
So it's a way to let U.S. companies access that market, but also keep a pretty strong check on how much tech actually flows over.
That seems to be the thinking. It's a really high-stakes balancing act.
The whole segment really highlights that tension. Investment is exploding, but the stuff you're investing in has this incredibly short shelf life.
Which creates this massive recurring need for capital.
And that leads us perfectly into segment D policy, governance, and standards.
Yeah.
Because the world is reacting to all this power with a whole lot of new rules.
And the big news today is all about making risk mitigation mandatory. Anthropic just published its compliance framework for California's SB 53.
So they're basically showing their homework, detailing how they plan to assess and manage catastrophic risks for their frontier models. Cyber, bio, the big scary stuff.
Exactly. And this is so important because California's Transparency in Frontier AI Act, SB 53, goes into effect January 1st, 2026. This is the nation's first mandatory AI safety law for frontier models.
The era of just making voluntary promises is over, at least in California.
It is. And New York is right there with them. Governor Hochul just signed the New York RAISE Act, which they're calling the strongest AI transparency law in the country.
What does it require?
It requires large AI developers to publish their safety protocols and, crucially, to report any critical harm incidents.
And does this law have teeth?
It does. You have to report critical incidents within 72 hours, and there are penalties up to $3 million for violations. So yes, states are setting a very aggressive pace here.
Meanwhile, what's happening across the Atlantic?
Well, the UK's AI Safety Institute, the AISI, published its first big report. The headline is that they find model safeguards are improving.
How are they measuring that?
They looked at how long it takes to find a universal jailbreak, a prompt that bypasses all the safety filters. That time has apparently grown from just a few minutes in older models to hours in the newer ones.
Hours is better than minutes, but, I mean, a system that can still be broken in a few hours doesn't sound completely safe, does it?
That's the right question to ask. It shows improvement, but also that the vulnerability is still very much there.
And finally, on the policy front, we saw a move from OpenAI that feels very much like a reaction to all this regulatory pressure.
Absolutely. OpenAI introduces teen safety rules and an age prediction system.
They're updating their rules for users under 18, banning things like immersive romantic role play.
And, most importantly, they're deploying a system that tries to predict a user's age. If it's uncertain, it defaults to applying the stricter under 18 safeguards.
And this comes as they're facing scrutiny from, 42 state attorneys general?
Exactly. This is industry reacting defensively to a very real, very coordinated regulatory threat.
Okay, that sets the table for our last big segment, e-funding and enterprise adoption. Let's start with the money, because the scale is just historic.
I mean, the headline says it all. OpenAI pursues a record $100 billion fundraise.
$100 billion. And that's aiming for a valuation of up to
$830 billion. And when you think about those chip lifecycle costs we just talked about, you start to understand why they need this much cash. It's not just for R&D, it's for massive, constant hardware replacement.
But not everyone is betting on just scaling up bigger and bigger language models.
Definitely not. Jan LeCun just launched his new venture, AMI Labs, which is a world model startup.
So this is about building AI that understands cause and effect, physics, not just statistical patterns in text.
Precisely. It's a bet on a totally different architecture, and it's a big bet. They're seeking around $586 million in a Series A at a pre-launch valuation of $3.5 billion.
That shows there's serious investor appetite for next-gen approaches beyond LLMs.
For sure. And we also saw some consolidation in the developer tool market.
Right, Cursor acquired Graphite. This is Cursor, the AI coding assistant.
Acquiring Graphite, which specializes in AI code review. So they're combining automated code generation with automated code review into one single workflow for developers. A very smart move.
Okay, so let's talk adoption. We need a success story.
Microsoft Research has a great one in AI and precision medicine. They're using generative models like their Dayhoff Atlas to treat biological sequences like DNA and proteins as if they were computer code.
And what's the tangible result?
This is an amazing metric. They improved the success rate of producing functional working proteins in the lab from just 16% all the way up to over 50%.
Wow, that's a threefold increase. It shows this isn't just theory. AI-designed medicine is viable right now.
It really is. But there's a reality check on the enterprise side.
The AI agent deployment challenges.
Yeah, leaders from Google Cloud and Replit were pretty candid. They said that while 2025 was supposed to be the year of the AI agent, most enterprise projects are still just toy examples.
And why are they failing in the real world?
Legacy workflows are one problem, but the bigger issue is immature governance and security. The companies just aren't ready for autonomous AI yet.
And finally, speaking of security, a quick note on an incident.
Right. OpenAI put out a mixed-panel security incident clarification. They confirmed a third-party analytics provider, Mixpanel, had a breach.
And this exposed some user data.
A limited amount of PII name, email, and course location for some users. But OpenAI was very clear their own core systems were not breached, and they've cut ties with that vendor.
So wrapping all of this up, the story of December 19th, 2025 is really one of institutionalization. The money is huge, the law is getting tight, and the core technical problems are being tackled head-on.
And if you want to get your hands on some of these trends, we have a couple of tools you can use today.
First up, the full coursework from that huge 5-day AI Agents Intensive course, the one that drew 1.5 million learners, is now available for free as a Kaggle Learn guide.
So you can go hone your agent development skills right now. And second, that Gemini app drop we mentioned includes Notebook LM integration, which is great for research and studying. It'll generate flashcards and quizzes for you.
All right, our numbers of the day really capture the extremes of today's AI landscape.
The first is $830 billion. That's the potential valuation OpenAI is chasing, and it just underscores the unbelievable scale of capital required at the frontier.
And the second is 98.44%. That's the valid answer rate achieved by models using that new QVAC Genesis II dataset. It's a huge metric showing that high-quality synthetic data can create much more reliable AI.
Okay, let's end with a final thought that connects the money to the physics. You have these vast sums being raised, hundreds of billions of dollars, and a huge chunk of that will be spent just replacing AI hardware every 18 to 24 months.
That incredibly short, expensive infrastructure lifecycle.
Right, and that constant churn demands this proactive, mandatory regulation we're now seeing from New York and California just to keep pace. So the question you should be asking yourself is this: can innovation ever truly outrun the cost and the regulatory challenge of its own rapidly degrading infrastructure?
A deep question to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We will be back tomorrow with the next essential AI updates.